don't know if he's confused and a little hurt by his personal experiences, but it's like talking to an atheist in America about how they were discriminated against for not being religious. Dude in high school thinks reverse racism is real? Well, it's not real, by the way. It's just racism.
It's like when people start talking about Karen, when they're like, well, Karen is a sexist term though, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, you're kind of just doing a stereotype of women, aren't you? Well, okay, let's rob that then of its genderedness. Men can be Karens. Men Karen all the time. DJ Vlad is a Karen. DJ Vlad is a massive Karen. Asmongold, you know, the guy who thinks the student protesters need to have their skulls cracked. With this thumbnail appealed to me. You know, the video game meme of it all, and seeing this picture and that, and I'm curious. It says Twitch is officially cooked.
Hasan thinks some swords are okay. What is this? Is this about the cracker thing? Holy shit.
Context.
So I personally donated 10K because I think it is worthwhile. And if you guys got some extra bread, I would recommend you donate. But I won't throw.
Hell yeah, donate to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. I'm also fundraising for this charity event. I'm very proud to be part of it. Really cool that they organized this whole thing. I'll get the link here for you all. Creators for Palestine. It's tiltify.com at creators-for-palestine /creators-for-palestine. And here's the link. It's already passed $500,000. It's now at 520,000. That could have something to do with all these big names who've been dropping in, which is obviously incredibly exciting. I will say this as someone who was fundraising years ago. I think like 3 years ago, I was doing a Palestinian charity stream. We raised nearly $10,000 for Palestinian charity. It was awesome. We had a great time. And back then, it was still a very volatile culture to stand up for Palestinian liberation. I was accused of fundraising for terrorists. I was accused of being a terrorist myself. And that had a lot part to do with Destiny falsely accusing me of raising money for a terrorist organization.
Some people are going to say that, you know what I mean? That's why it's the difference.
This is a cracker take.
About whether that's worthwhile?
Take. And if you're not against genocide at this point, like, keep your fucking money. Keep your $10,000.
Ludwig donates $10,000 to the cause that she agrees with, and she calls him a cracker. Come on, man. What the fuck are you doing?
So I guess the discourse is going to be opened back up, right? It's happening again. I can't, by the way, even though I'm white, you know, even though I am a creamy, oh, can I even say the H word? Is it the H word on Twitch? I'm too afraid. Twitch is really stringent with its use of hosts and slurs. Don't worry, I won't do it. All right, I won't say the C word with the hard R. You know, I can say a lot of things. I can call myself the walking chalk, you know, or a mayonnaise man. I can say that, right? I can say I'm a mayonnaise man. Is that fine? Is that fine for you? You know, the fucking how about an upside down egg? Is that one okay? Either way, I'm not too afraid of people calling me those things. You know, it can even be a term of endearment. You know, especially as we white people have to reclaim a lot of these words.
Two wrongs don't make it right. He was bad and trying to appeal to everyone and not take a real solid stance, but Frogan should have called him that. No, I don't give a shit about like someone being called a cracker, okay? As someone who is white and has like used that word myself, I think that people that are using that to be like, this is a racial slur against white people is like fucking ridiculous.
So here's the thing. Cracker is not a racial slur. But if
it is the discourse. Yeah, I feel like we're going to have to suffer having these conversations in perpetuity, you know? And like they really just appeal to people who haven't got there yet, ultimately. Like everyone's on a journey. Everyone's on their own journey, including white folk. And white folk are figuring stuff out. And, you know, we're all trying to deprogram tons of our biases. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, doesn't matter what race you are. You could be mixed race, you know, you could be white presenting even. Doesn't matter who or what you are. Everyone's figuring this stuff out. We're all on a journey together. And along that journey, I'm going to reiterate the same point that I've always been saying. White people are going to be okay. These words, they don't hold the ability to be part of a systemic system that is racially oppressing you for being white. You can be oppressed for a number of reasons if you are a white person in this world. For a number of reasons. Yes, there's class oppression. You can be poor. You can come from a poor family. You can come from an abusive family. You can come from a broken home. All of that is valid and real. And yes, that is going to contribute towards your difficulties in life for sure. There's lots of different ways. You could be gay, for example. You can be a gay white person and then suffer under homophobic stereotypes because we live in a homophobic society. It is true. It is absolutely true. You can be a trans white person and have to suffer discrimination in a cis-normative world. All of that, 100% true. But in terms of, you know, in the world, if someone calls you that, it's not contributing to a systemic oppression of your being. You're not like not getting a rental property because someone said the C word to you, right? That's why, again, it's just very laughable. That's why I meme this entire conversation every time it comes up, because at the end of the day, it's like when people start talking about Karen, when they're like, well, Karen is a sexist term though, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, you're kind of just doing a stereotype of women, aren't you? Well, okay, let's rob that then of its genderness. Men can be Karens. Men Karen all the time. DJ Vlad is a fucking Karen. DJ Vlad is a massive Karen. Are you fucking kidding me? Yes, DJ Vlad is a Karen-esque Karen. Karen, the term, comes from weaponizing whiteness and how white women can weaponize their own tears and utilize them in a way in which they may not actually be threatened or about to be attacked by a black person, but they can get that black person lynched, killed, arrested, beaten up if they falsely accuse them of something and then suddenly try to use again their whiteness in a situation where it could endanger someone. That's where the whole thing comes from women, specifically white women, thinking that they should have privileges in society and not recognize their whiteness in the process. Can I speak to the manager because I should be able to get the thing I want now? I deserve it. I'm not used to not getting that thing that I want at the time that I want it, so this moment in time. But that's not specific to women, because again, DJ Vlad, great example. He's a man, massive ass Karen, huge ass Karen.
If you call a white person a cracker whenever you're referring to their race, it is. Monkey isn't a slur. But whenever you call a black person a monkey when you're referring to their race,
So black people have been and continue to be systemically oppressed racially for the color of their skin. And so, yes, using racist slurs, especially if you happen to be a white person towards a black person, will carry with them more power. And they are also part, again, of, a society-wide systemic oppression of racialization, you know, treating people differently for different categories, whereas white people don't experience that. So, no, it is not the same. These things are not the same. Different things are different. Absolutely. Can everyone recognize the difference in severity between calling someone a poo-poo pee-pee? You're a caca. That's a slur. Those are bad things. You called me a poopy head. I certainly did. I called you a poopy head. Yeah, and the distance between that and calling, say, a gay person the F slur or calling a black person the N word. Like, everyone can see that there's a huge difference in the severity and the gravity of using these slurs, because in one case, or in multiple cases, they've been used as forms of oppression to oppress another group of people. There hasn't been a society-wide systemic oppression of white people utilizing these forms of language, which contributed to white oppression directly while using these. Like, if someone who is oppressed by another group is using a word for that group, say if black people are calling white people the C word, and I hate that I have to say the C word because I'm worried about Twitch fucking enforcing random ass rules. But either way, as much as it pains me to have to do that, there's a massive ass difference. It's like, again, this is the same thing as gallows humor, right? That people who are being kept in the gallows may have what is considered to be edgy and dark humor that people are like, well, that's offensive. You can't talk about wanting to murder the king. It's the king. He's our lord. How dare you say such things, you filthy people in the gallows? And it's like, yeah, but for people who are being oppressed, who are being tortured, who are being kept and imprisoned, there's going to be a different set of standards, obviously, to people. And you don't have to actively be a racist to understand these concepts. You could just use it as part of the unpacking, right? That's what we'll call it. Not the great wokening, the unpacking. Unpack all this shit. Dismantle it.
it is. Was Johnny Somali a racist whenever he went to Japan and was spamming Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Hiroshima, Nagasaki!
I would say, yep,
Yes.
that's racist. Absolutely. It's not even a question. Any normal person is going to come to that conclusion. You would have to be from like 7 or 8 different levels of disconnect to think that this is anything else other than racism. I don't know why Hasan
So you're doing the all lives matter of slurs. That's always been the problem with all this, right? Is again, it's one of those situations where, yes, hey, by the way, just as a rule of thumb, you probably shouldn't use anything that can contribute towards prejudice of a category of people, and that includes white people. Yes, it's low hanging fruit to try and just address people by slurs, call them slurs, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of, hey, what should we be focusing energy on, and do these have the power again to contribute to a systemic wide problem? Well, then they're two very different things. You can't say that they're all equal. Like if someone says, again, Black Lives Matter, they're not saying white lives also don't matter, white people. That's what this says. It's Black lives should also matter. It's white lives already matter. That's the thing. They already matter. That's why the metaphor is the house on fire. You know, it's like, okay, yes, all houses matter. They do. But that's the one that's currently on fire. That's what you're attempting to bring attention to with the slogan.
Hasan is doing this. Like, he did this the last time with Bruce. Why do you do this? It makes no sense. What is this? Hasan, oh God. Oh my God.
Hasan makes fun of a chatter for being bullied and racially abused in high school.
Dude got bullied in high school and thinks reverse racism is real. Can't make this up. My man thinks racial discrimination is simply putting me.
Like, I would go as far as being like, hey, by the way, if you're having a discourse or you're discussing something related to people donating to charity, I just, for not just the optics of it, but for the utility of it, I would just leave the conversation of Ludwig alone if he's in the process of donating money, because at that moment, the wave and the energy and the people who are watching Ludwig and his huge platform are most likely, some of them, especially for the first time maybe, suddenly looking at an issue of the world, such as, hey, should we be contributing money to support Palestinians and recognize Palestine as a country? That is a net good, and at that moment in time, allowed that net good to take place. That's what I would say. But I mean, again, Asmongold wants to now change this entire thing into a conversation surrounding, well, we have to talk about the word. Yeah, we have to have the talk. It's time, white people, to have the talk, you know, and then that talk surrounds the hard R. It was with the hard R, was not with the soft A. You know, that this was a full-on C word with the hard R. That did take place, and it did happen, and we have to have a discussion about that and what that means.
Words that hurt my feelings, and not an entire system designed to keep a whole ass group subjugated. And the mean words are secondary to this perceived grievance. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of racism.
Oh, he's not gonna get it at all, is he? he's gonna read the words, but I don't think he's gonna translate the words into their meaning. It's just gonna be sounds.
And the way we conceptualize it. I don't know if he's confused and a little hurt by his personal experiences, but it's like talking to an atheist in America about how they were discriminated against for not being religious. Dude in high school thinks reverse racism is real. Well, it's not real, by the way. It's just racism. If you treat somebody bad.
All racism matters. Asmongold, we did it. All racism matters.
Because if they're a race, it's racist. There's no defending it. No normal person.
Okay, so again, I don't want to do the whole, like, let's talk about the academic meaning of racial subjugation or racialization or any of that kind of stuff, because yes, sure, it gets lost in the normies. If anyone is in Asmongold's audience hate watching me for whatever reason, then I don't want you to get all confused and stuck in the weeds on this one. But I will say, as a white person, right, as a mixed race white person who's got an indigenous mother and still is seen and treated as a white person in society, is any police interaction I've ever had, I've been treated as a white guy. So I know what it's like to be white, because I'm white. So I'm white. I'm white in society. I'm a white boy who can tell you firsthand that I have used whiteness when I can, to my advantage. I have absolutely enjoyed the privileges afforded to me, especially with police encounters, because I have friends who are not white, and I have talked to them, and they have extremely different stories than I do. And they had different stories than I did, even in our encounters together, where we were treated completely differently. So I know firsthand what it's like to be treated by police very, very differently in terms of, like, whether or not I can talk my way out of an encounter, whether or not I'm able to, again, have confidence in speaking to police and just being like, no, according to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, you don't have a right to search my person, blah, 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 all that kind of shit, right? Not worried about whether or not they're going to crack my skull, taser me, just beat the fuck out of me, breathalyze me on the spot, all that kind of shit. This kind of stuff that I heard, yes, on a regular basis from people who are visibly Indigenous and what they have to deal with under the Canadian criminal justice system. So, like, yeah, there's a huge difference between that and being actually part of a system that is used to oppress people, and then furthering that oppression through, again, this kind of dehumanizing language. And anyone will tell you, obviously, do not just call people slurs. It's low-hanging fruit. That includes white people, and that includes if you're trying to talk about a white person. Yeah, clearly, and they're going to be very sensitive. I don't think you're going to win over a lot of white people simply because they're suddenly just like, oh my god, is this the same as the Underground Railroad? Am I experiencing slavery? Or something like that. But, like, you know, at the end of the day, fine. Everyone's got to grow and do their own thing and move through this process on their own time. So, yeah, it's not going to benefit anything. But also, yes, it is prejudiced. It's absolutely prejudiced to call someone a slur based on a categorization such as, yes, the amount of melanin in their skin, for sure, but it's not the same thing as furthering systemic racism and furthering systemic oppression. Those two are completely different. That's why the very idea of it, because you can be oppressed as a white person for a ton of other things. You can be oppressed for being fucking poor, right? Like that's something you absolutely can be. You can be a poor ass white person who is treated like shit by society for being poor. That's absolutely a reality that you could be in. But like the very idea that like you're not going to be able to rent an apartment because of your whiteness, because of the white soundingness of your name, you might not get a call back for a job. You might not even get a job fucking resume read because your name didn't sound white enough. That's probably not going to be something that you have to experience on a regular basis. You're going to have a police officer pull over on the side of the road specifically because of the color of your skin, not your clothing. All right, I'm not saying that maybe a white person who's dressed in baggy jeans and a hoodie might gather the attention of the police. They very well could. But say you were dressed in a business suit, and just based on the color of your skin and the neighborhood that you're in, you're suddenly going to get a pullover and a conversation. What are you doing here? Yeah, I think, like, again, a lot of the elements of the systemic oppression don't exist. So the whole, like, well, it's just, all racisms matter. They're all the same. Every racism is the same and equal worth of racism, and just don't do any racism whatsoever. You know, so say it's white people who are benefiting from those same systems. That's ridiculous. Again, it's absurd. It's an absurd thing to say while you don't experience it. Like you don't experience racial oppression on a regular basis to then say, hey, by the way, all slurs are equal. All slurs are equal measure. Don't say the C word. All racism's the same. It's all equal measure. And you don't face racial oppression. You don't experience that. And I say that as someone who doesn't experience it. Like, I've talked my way out of multiple police encounters where I would not have the confidence, nor I think I would have gotten away with the things I got away with if I wasn't white. It's like, so to then be like, and by the way, I hope everyone understands, like, you got to be nicer, you know? You got to stop using all these horrifying ethnic slurs towards white people. Like, what are we doing here?
Howdy, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that for the cost of a cup of coffee, you can unlock bonus uncensored episodes of Mind Explosions by going to patreon.com/the Serfs. Our videos couldn't exist without your support, and all our content is released early to our Patreon subscribers, as well as a ton of extra content you can't get anywhere else. Please like, subscribe, and thumbs up this channel, and if you're feeling extra perky, share it anywhere you think people would like to see or learn from our videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We first want to give a shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. This program is produced thanks to the generous support of our Patreon supporters: Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbar Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multi Mondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Bomey, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, and Words Greenwood. As well as every other person you see on the screen right now, this show would not be possible without them. And if you want to join these wonderful people who make this entire program possible, simply go to patreon.com/the Serfs and you can unlock uncensored and bonus episodes and, you know, help us exist.